Welcome into another edition of Arizona football. Today it's the Wildcats and Oregon Ducks tonight at the stadium. Glenn, in what might be the biggest home game of the Jed Fish era. This place is going to be sold out. The Wildcats with a chance to take on the Ducks. And this is a team, Glenn, you look at this series, the last 7 games, it's 4-3 Oregon, and they've lost twice here on their last 2 visits to Tucson. So this is definitely a game, I think, when you look over the course, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but when you look over the course of these last 7 games, I think this is one of those stealable games for Arizona.
I think also this is a winnable game, but it's going to be depending on how good the front 4, the front 3, I don't know if they're going to run a 4-3 or a 3-4, front 3 or the front 5 of our offensive line, how we're going to play is going to determine this game.
All right, well, there's been a lot of talk, Glenn, and we talked about it last week in terms of balance and what that means. And there were 2 great quotes on balance this week. I want to play the first one here by offensive coordinator Brennan Carroll when he was asked on Tuesday how many times he felt this offense needed to run the ball during this ball game or during any game.
It's a great question. It's the one that ends with W. So whatever the number is, it really doesn't matter to me. If they're trying to take away something, it may be more passes.
Whatever it takes, Glenn, to get W's. I like that.
Yeah, I don't.
You want more running,
I want more runs. I want more runs. I want at least 30 of them, okay? I think that we need to shrink the game down by doing that is that if we run the ball, we get the clock, we burn some clock. We don't want to give Oregon a lot of possessions. If more possessions they get, I think the more they score. We don't have that kind of defense. I'd like to see our defense get a little bit better. If we had a better defense, I'd be more comfortable with that, but we got to be realistic here. And I think that the more we run the ball, shorten the game down, I think the better we'll be off.
Well, and the other comment came on Thursday from Jed Fish when he kind of hearkened back to what Mike Leach said in his book in 2011. Here's what Jed had to say.
We really believe in our system of offense, which is we're going to try to attack teams as often and as in many different ways as possible. And we're not going to get wrapped up in, let's call it numbers of what do we need to call and when do we need to call it. We need to just find a way to be able to be balanced enough to get the ball in our playmakers' hands. I remember years ago, Mike Leach made a comment one time about balance, and he said balance isn't run pass, it's how many touches your best players get. I think that there's a lot of value. I think that statement rings true.
Yeah, I agree with that, but there's some of those best players are running backs, so we got to be able to get them the ball and be creative with it. Screens, doing all the other things, running the ball downhill. I understand that getting the ball to the players that need to have the ball, the playmakers, but also I think we need to understand. I think we need to go with our run and just trying to shorten the game. I'm a stickler on that. I just don't think we're built for that to pass the ball and then try to play the catch-up game. I don't think we're built for that.
Well, and I think that there is an element that they're doing in that, Glenn, and I think when you look at Michael Wiley and the fact that he is running the ball about 7 to 10 times a game, but they're also throwing it to him 5 to 6 times, and especially in the ball. I mean, both of his touchdowns in the game against Colorado were receiving touchdowns. I think he's obviously the type of running back who can handle that type of situation. All right, I'm going to give you my one to watch on defense, Glenn, and we've talked all season long about the power of the portal, and I like Christian Gonzalez, their outstanding cornerback, a transfer from Colorado, one of the guys that unfortunately helped get Carl Durrell fired earlier this week because he left that program. But this is a guy who really looks like an NFL cornerback. He's got tremendous length. You got to believe that they may play him on both Cowing and Singer in this game.
Yeah, and I think that's a great opportunity for those guys to play against an NFL corner that's going to be out there. I think that that's going to be opportunity for Singer and for Cowing and for T-Mac. He's going to have some people on him that are going to be NFL players, probably going to be drafted very high, and that's a great opportunity. My guy to watch is going to be Mr. Nix. I mean, that guy, Bo Nix. I mean, he hasn't even given up. They haven't sacked him all year long. So he sits back there and he has a cup of coffee and he throws the ball around. So we have to get to the quarterback. This is going to be a big challenge for our front guys on the defensive side, is getting to the quarterback. We got to get him off his spot. If we don't get him off his spot, he's going to be throwing it all over the yard.
Well, and you know, Glenn, who their second best rusher is on this team?
Yes.
Bo Nix.
Bo Nix, exactly.
So you cannot let him get going in that aspect of this game today. All right, my one to watch on offense for the Ducks is going to be Chase Cota, another transfer. Power of the portal. His numbers are starting to improve as he's kind of been ingrained in this Ducks offense. Got his first touchdown last week. He is the son of a Duck legend, Chad Cota, from the early 90s, who was a Rose Bowl MVP.
Yeah, and you know, those guys, it's an opportunity for the University of Arizona Wildcats to play against the high caliber players that we have in the Pac-12. Now, if our guys want to get to that next level, this is a perfect opportunity to show that you can play.
All right, the one thing I want to scold Jaden Delore on something from last week, and I'll go back to a few weeks ago when I kind of lauded his smartness in running the football when he's out there. I saw him do a couple things I didn't like last week. He tried to truck over a cornerback there down near the goal line. We don't want to be doing that, Jaden. I don't want him out there trying to run over defensive backs. And then there was another run play where he could have easily taken the out to go out of bounds, but he kind of got caught up inside and went down awkwardly. Those are the kind of running plays where your quarterback can get hurt. So I want the Jaden Delore that I saw running the ball against North Dakota State smartly, and not the one that I thought made some mental errors and could have gotten himself hurt in the game against Colorado.
And you know, that's a lot of adrenaline. He's going to have tons of adrenaline because it's going to be a sold-out crowd, and we're playing the Oregon Ducks. He's got to be able to be smart. This is where he shows not his physical ability, his mental ability, and this is going to be showing at the top level on this game Saturday night.
Well, and I mentioned at the beginning, this is a game I think that's winnable. You look back, I mean, heck, the 2018 team, before they went off the skids with Kevin Sumlin, was able to beat a very good Oregon team. We can go back to the great Antoine Kaysen and what he did in big
Darryl
games
Lewis
against Oregon. And I mean, there have been times when in this series, Arizona has stepped up and been able to beat the Ducks on this stage. And I think tonight can definitely be one of those nights. Glenn, any other keys that you have?
I just think that, you know, special teams, I've been saying it all year, special teams is going to be very important. We got to be able to play field position with them, make them drive the whole field. We don't want to give them short fields. That's why we got to be able to move the sticks, get them off, don't give them opportunities. Let's not get Oregon in a rhythm. We don't want to get them in a rhythm. We need to get in a rhythm and run the ball, pass the ball, and understand we got to score when we're inside the 20.
Well, it's going to be interesting because they're really having you. I went back and looked at some of the drives, and they're really not going over about 4 or 5 minutes in terms of time of possession. I mean, the plays are up. 8 to 12 plays, but under 5 minutes on these drives. I believe you have to go all the way back to the first drive at San Diego State to find a touchdown drive that was 6 minutes or more. I don't know really if this offense is built like that to extend drives into 7 or 8 minutes. So it's going to have to be, you know, that's one of the reasons why they have to be able to consistently get points every time they get the football.
New opponent. Checkers or chess? Let's find out. We're going to play.
All right, it is the Wildcats and the Oregon Ducks. Kickoff coming up tonight at 6 o'clock. And programming reminder, due to some travel family circumstances that I've got to be out of town this weekend, we will have Wildcat Breakdown coming up for you on Thursday of this coming week.